In recent weeks, the turbulent intersection of political satire and economic policy has grabbed headlines and ignited passionate debates across social media platforms and news outlets alike. A series of viral moments, starting with Jamie Foxx's astonishing impression of Donald Trump, has provided both levity and a stark reflection on the state of modern political discourse. Fox's performance, an imitation described as frighteningly accurate and laced with impeccable timing, sent shockwaves across Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook, where countless comparison videos of Fox Trump versus Trump emerged within hours. The impression was so captivating that even the hosts on live television found themselves collapsing into fits of laughter, a reaction that encapsulated the duality of public response to satirical portrayals of political figures. The echo of "it's a lot of great people, lots of great people on both sides" reverberated as communities attempted to parse the satire from reality. Fox's routine was not simply an act of mimicry, it represented a cultural moment where humor intersected with political commentary. In this modern age of instantaneous digital feedback, his performance not only overflowed the internet with memes, but also set the stage for further scrutiny of Trump's behavior. While Fox's impression garnered praise, undertones of admiration even from figures as unexpected as Stevie Wonder, the former president himself was unable to ignore the social media storm initiated by this performance. Trump, known for his signature angry tweets, soon responded by branding Fox a low-energy actor and dismissing the entire episode as fake news. With puzzling accuracy, Trump's response even included a misspelling of Jamie Foxx's name, an error that only served to exacerbate the online frenzy. One might quip that if Trump had $1 for every typo in his responses, he might have funded a small country's economic revival. This ironic moment underscored the unpredictability of political communication in the digital era. As the online debate raged, the implications of Fox's performance went far beyond simple entertainment. The incident became a microcosm of larger dynamics within American political culture, a confluence of humor, criticism, and the relentless churn of social media that has come to define political engagement today. Across platforms, memes sprouted like mushrooms after the rain, and the internet was abuzz with creators and pundits alike suggesting that Fox should replace Trump at rallies. The juxtaposition of a charming impersonation against the backdrop of a real president grappling with his own identity in the public sphere naturally invited comparisons with everything from classic political satire to modern-day digital controversies. At the same time, the narrative of outrage did not stand alone. Alongside the satire and humor, there loomed a series of serious issues about governmental credibility and economic policy that could well shape the future of American politics. In a separate but equally explosive arena, former President Trump's unpredictable and late-night social media tirades have raised significant concerns about the stability of the nation's economic framework. In one instance, following a single joke made by Jimmy Kimmel on his late-night show, a joke that took a jab at Melania Trump's reserved demeanor, Trump responded vigorously with a volley of caps lock posts on Truth Social. These posts, reaching over 8 million views, became emblematic of Trump's reliance on social media as both a megaphone and a shield. The heated exchanges that ensued not only captured the attention of cable news, but also had tangible repercussions on broadcast ratings across networks like CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News, which reported a 12% surge in ratings above their monthly averages the morning after. Behind these dramatic moments lies a deeper undercurrent of national concern: the role of tariffs and economic policy in a rapidly shifting global landscape. Trump's erratic management of tariff policies, characterized by sudden changes and contradictory statements, has cast a long shadow over American economic stability. In a series of events described with a blend of sarcastic humor and sober analysis, it became clear that while Fox and other satirists were turning Trump's persona into a punchline, the real economic consequences of those policies were anything but trivial. Trump's rhetoric, ranging from bold assertions that tariffs would usher in a golden age of America to later retreats when market realities intervened, has left businesses and investors in a state of constant uncertainty. One can't help but wonder if the former president is treating the nation's economic policies like a whimsical game of musical chairs, albeit with the lives and futures of millions at stake. The trade war, dramatically amplified by Trump's day and night tweets, has become a case study in economic instability. Trade tensions escalated further when Ontario's Premier, Doug Ford, once considered a staunch supporter, abruptly reversed his position and threatened punitive measures. Ford's comment, "We'll make sure the U.S. feels the pain," marked a significant pivot in North American trade relations. His announcement that Ontario would impose a 25% tariff on electricity exports, alongside retaliatory tariffs on crude oil and LNG, sent chills down the spines of economists nationwide. With Canada holding key leverage over essential exports such as electricity, crude oil valued at $70 billion annually, and 9 billion cubic meters of LNG, American industries now face the frightening prospect of abrupt supply disruptions. It seems almost ironic that while Trump tweets at 2 a.m., in fits of rage, North American trade partners are methodically recalibrating their own economic strategies, a process that painfully underscores the volatility of relying on unpredictable leadership. Simultaneously, tensions have also heightened within the domestic political arena as critics scrutinize the Trump family's handling of responsibilities and public image. This critical lens extends to figures like Don Jr. and Eric Trump, who have repeatedly found themselves on the receiving end of mocking commentary from renowned late-night hosts such as Jimmy Kimmel. In a series of biting remarks, Kimmel skewered these members for their perceived lack of competency and transparency. He described Don Jr. as the comedian who can't blink, and derisively referred to Eric as having the IQ of a pillow. Such judgments, laced with sarcastic humor, not only contributed to a broader narrative of incompetence and mismanagement, but also served as indicators of the growing disconnect between public expectations and the performance of political figures. Critics argue that the relentless focus on personal missteps and branding fiascos detracts from critical policy discussions, leaving the nation's pressing economic, social, and geopolitical challenges unaddressed. Perhaps in a twist of irony, the Trump family is proving to be the very embodiment of a poorly maintained crime family, where the theatrics of public life far outweigh the sober necessities of governance. At the heart of all these controversies lies Trump's persistent reliance on social media as the primary outlet for his communication. His late-night escapades, which have included threats of imposing tariffs on allies and cryptic references to potential alliances, have only deepened international anxieties. In one notable instance, Trump threatened, "If the EU and Canada team up, I'll slap them with killer tariffs," a statement that not only alarmed diplomatic circles, but also underscored the perilous nature of mixing impulsive tweets with the gravity of international trade negotiations. Such threats, delivered with the casual bravado of a man who might still be in a high school debate club, have prompted international leaders to question whether Trump's actions are deliberate strategic moves or simply the manifestations of personal insecurity. A personality quirk turning national security into a spectacle. One observer humorously noted, "Trump used to host the party, now he's locked outside the living room." A joke that captures the absurdity of a situation where major global alliances hang in the balance over a series of late-night social media rants. The economic repercussions of these erratic policies are far-reaching. The United States, once a bastion of predictability in global markets, now finds its industries and consumers battling uncertainty. Companies like Tesla, Apple, and GM have already begun shifting production lines to more stable regions, such as Canada and the European Union. Investors, anxious over the abrupt policy reversals and uncertain future, have watched stock prices plunge and consumer confidence hit a 15-year low, as reported by a survey from the University of Michigan. In parallel, everyday Americans are grappling with rising costs in nearly every facet of life, from soaring fuel prices to an ever-increasing cost of living that has forced families to make agonizing sacrifices, such as selling their homes and cars just to stay afloat. It is a somber scene painted against an economic backdrop where uncertainty reigns supreme and where the public is left to decipher the true value of tomorrow's promises, all while the nation teeters on the edge of a potential recession. Alongside these domestic challenges, international trade partners have not remained silent. As Canada responded to Trump's tariffs by threatening a 25% surcharge on electricity exports, the global economic landscape began to shift. Canada's bold move, which targeted critical sectors ranging from automotive parts to agricultural products, has raised significant concerns about the future of North American economic cooperation. With Canada already exporting more than $30 billion worth of cars, in parts to the U.S., and with agricultural trade valued at nearly 45 billion USD annually, the retaliatory tariffs could disrupt not only the flow of goods, but the entire economic equilibrium shared by these neighboring nations. The rivalry has reached a point where the energy relationship is now a pivotal juncture. While Canada supplies 70 billion US dollars in crude oil each year and 9 billion cubic meters of LNG, there looms the grim possibility that American states could face blackouts if further tensions escalate. A scenario that underscores the precarious nature of relying on unpredictable international alliances. Beyond the economic disruptions and the political theatrics, a broader narrative emerges, one that raises fundamental questions about leadership, transparency, and the very fabric of democratic governance. Critics contend that Trump's focus on disparaging his opposition through theatrical social media battles and offhand remarks on topics such as Tesla and Dogecoin belies a deeper inability to address substantive national issues. The former president's flirtation with the idea of a third term, mentioned dismissively even as he joked about it, "I hear there's a way, I haven't looked into it, but it's interesting," further complicates the narrative. This cavalier attitude toward constitutional limits, coupled with his documented indifference when confronted with critical questions about governance, reveals an alarming disregard for the rule of law that underpins the democratic process. When key figures within his own administration and among his supporters begin questioning whether the strategic decisions made are truly grounded in a vision for national stability, or rather, serve only to elevate personal ego, the underlying crisis becomes all too apparent. Throughout these turbulent events, late-night hosts like Jimmy Kimmel have seized the opportunity to provide not only comic relief, but also incisive commentary that speaks to the broader implications of this political circus. Kimmel's on-air jabs, which painstakingly dissect the Trump family's missteps, from the apparent inability of Don Jr. to maintain composure while defending himself, to Eric Trump's frequently comical blank stares, reveal a deeper discontent with a system that seems to reward noise over substance. It is a powerful reminder that while humor can illuminate the absurdities of a situation, it also serves as a poignant call for accountability and a re-examination of priorities. Critics argue with tongue firmly in cheek that if Trump had invested as much effort in formulating a coherent economic policy as in learning new vocabulary words like kind, the nation might have avoided some of the hardships now being widely experienced. Even as one sarcastic commentator mused, "Prices are rising. Oh, it's not inflation. It's just everything's getting more expensive." The undercurrent of economic discontent has proven impossible to ignore. In the midst of this maelstrom, it is important to recognize that the storm is not confined to Washington or even North America alone. Global dynamics are shifting rapidly as trade alliances realign and international partners distance themselves from the volatility of American policy. The actions taken by Canada and by European nations to forge new economic relationships represent a broader trend, a deliberate move away from a unilateral and unpredictable approach toward a more balanced, cooperative framework. As the United States grapples with the internal disarray wrought by conflicting messages and erratic decisions, the international community is keenly watching to see whether a semblance of order will prevail, or if the fallout will trigger a more profound and lasting recession. This complex interplay between political theater and economic policy invites not only analysis, but also a deeper reflection on the systems that govern our lives. For those following these developments, it's hard not to feel both exasperation and a touch of dark amusement at the sheer absurdity of events. The nation watches as a former president transforms his public arena into what some might call a live, unscripted reality show, complete with outlandish tweets at 2 a.m. and blustery speeches about making America great again in a manner that increasingly resembles an emotional temper tantrum rather than the deliberative process of governance. If you enjoy these deep dive analyses and want to stay informed as these stories continue to develop, please consider subscribing to our channel and dropping a like or comment. Your engagement helps ensure that we can bring you further expert insights in a complex world. At this pivotal juncture, the critical questions persist. What do you believe is at the heart of America's current predicament? Is it the relentless barrage of unfiltered social media outbursts, the erratic economic policies, or the stark disconnect between leadership and the realities of the everyday citizen? As we witness this clash between political showmanship and real-world consequences, the answer remains layered and elusive. The incident involving Jamie Foxx's impression of Trump, which in itself sparked a wildfire of memes and internet debates, is just one facet of a multifaceted discourse that encapsulates the state of modern governance and public accountability. The reaction of Trump's supporters, who still cling to the image of great people on both sides, stands in stark contrast to the biting criticisms aimed at policy failures and the unraveling of once sturdy trade relationships. Adding to the irony, it is almost comical how the same former president who once positioned tariffs as a revolutionary means to restore America's economic might now finds himself embroiled in a scenario where his policies have ironically destabilized both domestic markets and international alliances. Every reversal and contradictory statement has only consolidated the perception that the strategies being employed are less about long-term victories and more about managing a tempest of immediate outrage. With the international reaction intensifying, especially following Canada's decision to impose retaliatory tariffs and threaten to shut off critical supplies like electricity, the stakes could not be higher. In a globalized economy where interdependence is the norm, the unpredictable nature of these policy shifts not only undermines trust, but also risks triggering a cascade of economic repercussions that extend far beyond the borders of the United States. In examining these developments, it is evident that leadership in today's digital and interconnected age demands more than just brash rhetoric and tweet storms. It requires a nuanced understanding of economic fundamentals, a steadfast commitment to transparent governance, and, perhaps most importantly, a willingness to bridge the gap between public perception and substantive policymaking. When a nation's leaders fail to convey clarity and stability, the repercussions are felt not only in high-level financial markets, but also in the daily struggles of families forced to cope with rising costs and diminished opportunities. While Trump's antics may provide fodder for endless hours of internet humor and late-night monologues, they also serve as a cautionary tale about the perils of neglecting the weighty responsibilities of national leadership. Within this maelstrom of satire, economic uncertainty, and international tension, it becomes crucial to ask, can the current cycle of political theatrics and reactive policy adjustments yield an eventual breakthrough in governance? Or will the relentless cycle of outrage and brief moments of levity continue to distract from the urgent need for sustainable, thoughtful leadership? As you mull over these questions, we invite you to share your thoughts and perspectives in the comments section below. Your voice is an essential part of this conversation. In reflecting on the events of recent weeks, from Jamie Foxx's brilliant impersonation to the cascading effects of Trump's tariff policies and diplomatic gaffes, one is left to wonder whether the nation might one day learn that genuine leadership is measured not by the volume of tweets or the sharpness of a one-liner, but by the ability to forge stability and inspire confidence amid chaotic times. In summation, the unfolding saga encapsulates the dramatic collision between showbiz spectacle and the hard realities of economic policy. It is a reminder that while the laughter elicited by a well-timed impersonation or a sardonic quip may temporarily ease the tension, the underlying issues, ranging from erratic tariff policies and retaliatory international measures to domestic economic decline and challenges to democratic values, are profound and demand sustained, thoughtful action from our leaders. As the world continues to watch, the interplay between humor and gravity remains a stark reflection of our times, leaving us to ponder whether the tools of satire can ever compensate for the essential need for clear-eyed, strategic governance. Ultimately, the saga of these events is much more than a series of unfortunate tweets or viral memes. It is a narrative of missteps and missed opportunities that speaks to the larger challenges of governing in an age of relentless media, fierce global competition, and public disillusionment. As extraordinary as the spectacle may be, the price paid by ordinary citizens through rising prices, strained international relationships, and economic instability is a sobering reminder that when politics becomes a stage for emotional outbursts and careless banter, the reward is far from the greatness promised. What remains to be seen is whether those in power will eventually embrace transparency, accountability, and consistency, or continue to navigate politics with the unpredictability of a late-night tweet storm. In an era where the public craves certainty and competence over theatrics and distractions, the future of American leadership, and indeed the economic well-being of millions, hangs decisively in the balance.